Welcome to this episode of Focus In, and today I have Catherine with me. Hi Catherine, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Cameron.
Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, can we just know a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Catherine, and I work for InFocus charity here in Exeter. My role here is the principal of InFocus College.
That's amazing. I love that. And today that links really well because we talk about the power of specialist colleges. Now, to start off with, can you actually, tell us what a specialist college is? What is it about?
Yeah, a specialist college is a college that provides education for young people aged 16 and over whose needs are unable to be met in a general FE or further education college.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's important for us to talk about the importance of it. Why are they so important?
Well, I think it's because usually the students who come to specialist colleges, like here at InFocus, are students who have learning differences and disabilities. Many of them have an EHCP, an Education, Health and Care Plan, and their needs are unable to be met elsewhere.
Yeah, and what kind of students do you think thrive the most in this environment, who really benefit from specialist colleges?
I think it's students who perhaps need really tailored and individualised programmes. For them, going into large groups, for example, means that they're not accessing what they need to learn. Often their experiences at school have meant that they haven't achieved or fulfilled the potential that they've got for learning. So this is why we need specialist colleges.
Absolutely. And do you think that's a really important part, is that being able to adapt, I suppose, and tailor? I mean, there's a word you use there. I think that's a really important part of it.
Oh, absolutely. What we have here is a really individualised approach. Students have a curriculum that's adapted to their needs. We talk about specialist colleges. The reason that colleges are specialist is that they often tailor for specific needs.
Yeah.
Here at InFocus, we support students who have vision impairment and complex needs. And so those students in mainstream colleges, in schools, there isn't the specialist expertise to support them. There aren't the staff who are trained the way that staff here and in other specialist colleges are trained.
Absolutely. And if we talk practically as well, how does the process work, in terms of how you apply to attend? That can be quite daunting initially, I would say, thinking, is this right for me? How do I get involved? How do I attend and apply? So, practically, how does that work?
It's quite straightforward. I think that I'd always recommend parents and families and students to find out what there is, to visit as many different colleges and settings that they can attend that are available to them as possible. And we have a process that's very simple. Contact our admissions team. You'll meet Sonia later. She can probably tell you a bit more about that. And they can arrange for a visit. They can arrange for assessment. At that assessment, if it's found that the specialist college InFocus can meet the needs, then an offer of a placement will be made. And then we recommend that the family name InFocus at the young person's EHCP annual review meeting. They put us forward as a specialist college for them.
And how important do you think it is for them to come and see it as well? Because you mentioned, get in touch, come and have a look around. I think that probably is quite important, isn't it?
It's so important. For me, the importance is really so that the young person can make an informed choice about their future. And that's what we're all about as a college at InFocus. It's about young people being able to know what the world can offer them. But absolutely. Sometimes it's really hard. It's hard, to make a choice about what you want to do in the future if you don't understand what that choice is.
Exactly.
And particularly for young people with SEND, it's even harder to comprehend what it feels like, what it's like to be in somewhere that's different from where they've been maybe for their whole school life. So for them to come and visit, for their families, their parents to come and visit is absolutely essential.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things when you come to a new space, don't you? You kind of think, I can see myself here. I feel comfortable. I like how this is set up. And sometimes if you don't go and make that step of visiting and meeting new people, then it's quite hard to know, isn't it? So that's a really important part, I can see.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure. Absolutely. Now let's talk about adulthood. So for students when they leave college, how does that look? do you think?
For students who have finished a placement at InFocus, they go on to do lots of different things.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want.
Yeah.
You know, there's not when a new student starts with us, and in fact even earlier at the if they're coming for an assessment,
Yep.
one of the first questions I will ask them is, what do you want your adult life to look like after
Important.
education?
Yeah.
You know, that's the big question, because one of the things that we can do, and specialist colleges can do, is we can really tailor the provision that we provide so that we're equipping those students to be ready for whatever's next. So
Absolutely.
Some young people want to go and live independently. They might want to go and share places with their friends. Some young people might feel that they need a bit more support, so they might want to go and live in a supported living accommodation. We have some here at InFocus. Some young people want to decide that they want to live at home, but they want to fill their lives with activity that's meaningful for them.
Yeah, and that's important though, isn't it? Because having that decision early on and having those discussions means that you can kind of inform that journey and make it, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, it's more tailored, isn't it? Because you've
Absolutely.
had that discussion already, you know where you want to go, what we're aiming for, and then we can kind of, tailor that as you grow as well.
Yeah, and that isn't, just because somebody thinks their aspiration is one thing when they start, it can change.
Yeah,
and as
that's
a
very true.
specialist college, one of the things that we do is we are a safe space to challenge students, and they're able to discover new things that perhaps they wouldn't have chosen to do initially, but they feel in a safe space so that they're able to try different things and see what they like, and then their aspirations adjust accordingly and hopefully become more ambitious.
So let's move on to talk about curriculum a little bit, and what a curriculum at a specialist college typically includes, and how does that differ as well from a mainstream college?
I would say generally the curriculum at specialist colleges tends to be a bit more holistic.
Okay.
So it's thinking about how students are able to apply skills. So as well, you will see on timetables of students at specialist colleges things you'd expect to see, like maths, English, all the different subject areas. But also you're likely to see sessions more tailored to things like independence, things like daily living skills.
Okay.
So perhaps the curriculums tend to have more emphasis on the functional and the application of skills.
Makes sense.
I think what you'll also see is the curriculum enables more specialist teaching.
Yeah.
The timetables of some colleges will be really tailored around the students' needs. So, for example, there may be less rigidity around that.
Right.
There may be more time for rest, for regulation breaks and things like that, so that students are ready to learn in their sessions.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think there's a strong focus on communication and, as I said before, advocacy, so that students are actually, their voice is heard. They're able to express their voice and they have opportunities to share it, which, is
really
absolutely.
Is important. And how important do you think that is about a word you keep coming back to, which I love, is tailored. I think that, and that's really important. And how do you think, why do you think that is so important, that it is tailored in specialist colleges, maybe compared to, you say it's a bit broader in a mainstream college, for example? So, why is it so important that it's tailored, do you think?
Well, I think it's about meeting the student where they are. And obviously, general FE colleges tend to be much larger. Group sizes are much larger.
Yeah.
So, you need to be able to make sure that the student is accessing what they need. So we talked about them needing to be in a space where they can learn. That could be about the environment. So, I don't know if you could call it part of the curriculum, but certainly part of the resources or the setting is
supports
that
it, though, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does. Yeah, there are the right kind of spaces for the students' needs. That could be as simple as access. We've got students in wheelchairs. They need to be able to travel around and reach all of the different areas of the college, so that they don't feel excluded. And I think that's the thing. Specialist colleges are tailored so that their students are able to be included in everything.
Definitely. And it's on a different scale as well. You say mainstream is big, isn't it? You go to some mainstream colleges and it's huge, isn't it, to navigate, and really tricky.
Yeah.
So with the specialist college, I think, is the importance of having it slightly smaller, a little bit more tailored. It makes it easier to access, do you think, as well, on that scale?
Yeah, absolutely. And also in terms of the staff, we have tutors at specialist colleges. The class sizes tend to be smaller.
Yep.
And also the level of support from staff is often greater. We find that training of staff is, something that is even more important.
Of course.
And at InFocus, for example, staff, once they're recruited, will be trained for 3 weeks in all sorts of things. That might be trained in Braille, trained in autism awareness, trained in signing. They might have mobility training. So there's so much that goes in. And then those staff are part of the curriculum, and they enable that curriculum to be tailored and taken to where the student is.
And actually, you don't realise, I think, somebody that maybe isn't aware of what is involved, if you're joining a specialist college as a tutor or a teacher or whatever, how much is involved in that. Like you say, you've got Braille, there's accessibility, there's so many different areas to be aware of, and it's massive, isn't it?
It is, and I think we have a broad expertise of staff, sometimes curriculums don't exist in the same way and resources don't exist for people to access in the same way that they do for students studying in general FE. So we have to tailor that to make sure that we have the right resources, that we have the right pacing. And we have the specialist multidisciplinary team input. So specialist colleges tend to have therapists working often on site. For example, here we have a health team, we have speech and language therapist on site, we have occupational therapists, we have physiotherapists, we have a mobility team. So all of that helps make the curriculum meet the needs of the students. Amazing.
And that tailoring as well, which is awesome to hear. Now, talking about post-school education, what other options are there for that, and how do specialist colleges fit into that wider landscape? Because I think, again, from talking to you, that importance of looking forward post-education, making sure they're prepared, they have the skills. So how does a specialist college fit into that?
Specialist colleges play a small but really crucial role in the post-school environment.
Yep.
They allow students who wouldn't be able to access their education in a general FE college to have the same opportunities, which, of course, why shouldn't they?
Absolutely,
as any other young person. But there's not as many. There's not as many of those students, and so the percentage of students who go to specialist colleges is much smaller. But it's essential that we have specialist colleges, because without them, some students' education would simply stop, and it would stop before other young people's of their age, and that's not right from a social justice point of view, And I think also, it's recognising what those young people can go on to contribute to society, to communities.
Yes.
It's such a privilege to work with the young people that I've worked with in my career. They are so joyous, so full of life. And they've got so much to offer the world of employment, their friends, society, so much to offer, and they just make the world and their communities a richer place. I think for specialist colleges also, they are often centres of expertise. So in terms of educating the wider world about, what people are capable of, and sharing the needs and the expertise with, we can work together with local FE colleges to share the expertise. If there's a student there with a vision impairment, for example, we can support, we can give advice. So I think that specialist colleges offer that.
And that's a really nice, I love that, because it's talking about that it's not mainstream specialist colleges. There's definitely the crossover there, which is what you've just touched on, how you can support mainstream, and mainstream can support in the other way as well, back to specialist colleges as well.
I talked about inclusive environments, and as a charity, our mission is to make sure that students who come here, that young people we support, are able to take their place in society. We don't want to keep them away from everyone else. It's about everyone in the world benefiting from their presence.
And talking about the sort of mainstream and specialist colleges, what do you think a specialist college can offer which mainstream? I think we've touched on that quite a bit already, but is there anything else that sort of stands out for you that a specialist college can really offer that they probably wouldn't be able to get in a mainstream setting?
I think that specialist colleges can unlock education for some people. It's about seeing the whole person and having the time and the space to meet them where they are, to give them the opportunity to be regulated, to be calm, to be focused, to have their health needs met. And to feel safe, actually, because
safe space, that's really important.
It is really important.
And you'll be able to thrive more if you feel you're somewhere safe and somewhere that's creative and somewhere that's being you're being met at where you want to be and your needs are being met, and I think you're going to do better. And that's anybody, isn't it? In any situation, absolutely, you're going to be happy with that. Yeah, definitely. Now, what difference do you think attending a specialist college can make to a young person's future? I mean, we've touched on that as well, which I love. We've kind of gone off onto that a little bit, but I think there's two parts to that as well. There's definitely the skills side, which you've talked about. You're seeing what you'd normally see in a curriculum. Your maths and your English, and you've got your skills that you need. But a big thing that I think is going to make a difference is confidence. Coming from talking to you. So, what difference do you think it will make to a young person's future?
So much. I mean, I can think of a really small example that I saw this week when I was in a lesson. It was a Braille lesson, and a student there was making her own Braille labels that she was going to put on her shampoo and conditioner in the shower so that she knew which was which, and increasing her independence, making her feel more confident, and have that feeling of being able to do something for herself that would really increase her independence. I mean, she actually needs less support going forward. I think another thing is some students, unfortunately, aren't able to stay where they are because of their needs, and it might be their health needs. So specialist colleges have have more access to that trained health provision. So, for example, thinking of something like epilepsy, some students aren't able to access or be in spaces without knowing there's someone there who can support them in a life or death situation. And we can offer that training to staff, and we do, so that students know that they're going to be safe, families know they're going to be safe.
And that's going to increase confidence as well, isn't it? That safe space, and you know that you're going to be okay, and you can go for it and do what you need to do, which is brilliant. Absolutely. Now, our specialist colleges, I think this is a question that I found really interesting, and I've been lucky to go to InFocus and do work with the students and young people there. And what I've noticed is actually it's not just for day students. Let's talk a little bit about that. Is the specialist college just for day-to-day students coming in the daytime, or are there residential places? Can you stay within?
Yeah, absolutely. We have day students. We have weekly boarders, so students who arrive on a Monday morning, go home on Friday for the weekend, and then come back. And then we have termly boarding students who are here all term. And then sometimes we find that students might just want the occasional weekend, so that's an option as well. It can be quite daunting for a family and a young person thinking, they're used to being at home all the time. So we're able to offer that opportunity to sort of try it out.
And again, that adds to the confidence, doesn't it? It's a next step. But you're also doing it in an environment that you're familiar with. You're there in the day. So maybe that next step of, okay, there's a bit more independence here. I'm going to stay over just for one night maybe. And then that's all just feeding into that idea of just confidence, isn't it? As well, which is awesome. Now, some families can feel really, I mean, we've talked about that, but really anxious about the idea of residential education. So is there anything that you can give, obviously with your experience, you're seeing that on a day-to-day basis, people staying here, is there any reassurance you can offer of how that actually will support and how they'll feel with that?
Well, I mean, I think obviously we invite families to visit. Parents can have a look and see the provision. They can talk to other students, and that's another, when I'm showing families and students around who are coming to see what it's like, I always encourage the students to tell them so they can hear it from them themselves.
Isn't it? That voice, the young person's voice is really important, isn't it? Yeah. And how important would you say that is for them to come in and experience it a little bit? Are they able to come? How involved can they be in terms of if they were to come for a visit? Can they come and see what they're doing during the day? Is that something that's quite common to see?
Yeah, usually they'll have a tour, walk around college, see, pop into sessions if Amazing. It's not interrupting. We had a student visit couple of weeks ago who ended up staying for one of our student forums,
great.
which is when the whole college gets together and shares and talks about things that are important to them. So yeah, absolutely. And we do a lot of work with transition as well, which is something that specialist colleges are able to offer. So visiting students in their current schools or at home and talking with the people who know them and finding out exactly what they need. And then similarly, providing them with maybe the chance to sort of have start gradually. So maybe not start coming for a whole day. Maybe at the beginning they'll just come for an hour.
Right.
Sometimes it's about building a relationship with the staff member, because relationships are so important.
Yeah, definitely.
And having that trusting relationship with someone for some people is really, really difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can offer a space for that to happen as well.
And I think that would help a lot, because I think if you're looking for that transition and it's kind of, okay, that's now finished and now you've got to come here 5 days a week, you'll be here all day, and the thought of that is just daunting for anybody, isn't it? Thinking,
absolutely.
I've got this change and I have to be there and I have to meet a lot of people. If you're there for a full day straight away, 5 days a week, you're meeting and interacting with so many new people that you don't know, and that's really hard. So actually for people to know, and that bit of reassurance to know that actually there is that opportunity for transition even before you join, a little bit like, say, in previous settings or at home, and we can sort of just gradually get you prepared for that life. I think that makes a huge difference, and I'm sure you see that does help.
Yeah, it does. And also it's about knowing the student. So obviously, there's a lot of plans and programs, and we have access to those things like behaviour support plans, so that we can use the same strategies that have worked. All our staff are really trained in supporting students who have perhaps some behaviours that might challenge sometimes. So they know how to do that, and they really tailor the programme and the plan so that it will meet the students' needs.
Brilliant. That's so important, isn't it? Now, you've shared an example of something earlier this week, which was great, of how it's helping and the importance of it. Have you got any other stories of a former student, maybe where someone's really flourished? They've left InFocus College, and you've just seen something that's just where they've just flourished and they've become themselves because of the help of a specialist college. Have you got any examples?
I mean, there's so many examples,
I can imagine.
And I'd actually think it would be great to hear them from the young people themselves.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's something that can happen in another podcast. But
great.
Generally, what I see is that confidence and that ability to apply skills outside. So we have students who start with us and really are nervous. They're apprehensive, they're not able to communicate their voice, and then they go on to do something like, say, a supported internship, where they are initially supported by a staff member in a workplace that they've chosen, and then gradually over time that support decreases so that they feel confident and that they can do that. I mean, students go on to do so many things, travelling independently, for example, on public transport, learning routes, and then being able to go where they want to go, finding new activities. So examples of students who've been on a residential trip with us and to activity centres and discovered that they love archery, and then gone on after they college. Now they continue, that's part of their life. There's so many, but I feel like the students should tell you themselves.
I love that.
Those
so
young
important.
People should tell you themselves.
I think
it's
again,
their story.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And
you've seen it in action, and it's just amazing to see, isn't it? And I think, again, from this conversation we've had so far, a lot of it is student voices come up a lot, isn't it, of how important that is, or young people's voices coming from them, because actually they are the people that are experiencing it and how it's helped them and what it's done for them. And only really they can explain the importance of that.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what we do, is giving students a voice. Some students are non-verbal. So, they have different ways of communicating that we can support them with. So communicating with communication devices, it's using access technology, AAC. And it's so important, just think of such a basic thing as being able to say more or finished, of something. So basically a student being able to communicate whether they want something or they don't in their lives, and having the voice to say that is really important, but also knowing that whatever they say will be listened to.
Yes.
And expecting
That's
that.
really important,
so
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that point of sometimes someone having a voice it can be in so many different ways. The way you communicate, is it through music? Is it through it's so many different ways, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that's quite
absolutely.
important to recognise as well, that a young person's voice, a student's voice in a specialist college doesn't always just mean actually through communicating through words, through speaking,
no,
which is an
absolutely
important
not.
one. Yeah, to know. Now, let's talk about a bit of advice. I reckon there might be some people that are listening who maybe they're exploring post-school options right now. And we've talked about that can be quite daunting because it's a bit like, oh my goodness, what do we do? There's so many different options. How do we even do it? Which we've covered early on. So have you got any advice for families now who are at that point where they're exploring the post-school options?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is important to start as soon as you can.
Okay.
So find out what's out there, get advice from people. We've got the NASPEC, the National Association of Specialist Colleges, for example. You can see there are specialist provision is listed, so you can find out what's out there. We've talked about it a lot. Visiting is really important, and it's because it means that you can see what the provision is, you can see for yourself if it's going to meet the needs, but also to give your child that opportunity to make an informed choice about where they want to be, what their preference is.
Absolutely, and see how they feel when they're actually in that space as well.
And I think it's so important to know that your child has a right to high quality education. You know, that's something that unfortunately sometimes parents feel they have to fight for. But, you know, specialist colleges exist. And we're here to provide those young people with that opportunity. One thing you could do is you could invite, when you find a college that you think could meet the needs, you could invite them to your child's annual review meetings, for example.
Okay.
So that they can be involved. And there are charities such as IPSI, which specialise in Send Law, for example, that can advise parents as well. I think the main thing is to think and plan ahead.
Okay.
It can seem like a long time away, but you know, it does come up sooner than you think. So just planning for the future, planning ahead, knowing what the options are, and keeping open to them is important.
That is really important, isn't it? And that advice, I think sometimes that's all that's needed, isn't it? Just a little bit of advice. What are the steps? What should I do next? And I think, you know, what would be your first step to go to? I know we've covered lots of different things that are important, but I'm just thinking maybe someone who's listening now who's sat there thinking, okay, we need to act, we need to start something. How would you go out there? How do you start? You know, it's really tricky, isn't it?
Well, I think it's about knowing what the options are.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and starting with what the aspirations are as well. So it can be simple things like what does your child at that point, if we're thinking of from a parent's point of view, what do they want in their lives? You know, how do they want to spend their time? Where do they want to live? All of those things, and just keeping open to what they say about that, to what they want. It's really important. It's thinking about what that young person wants and needs in order to live a happy, healthy life and be part of community.
And that's what should come first, isn't it, as well? I think that's an important point to put across, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is what do they need, what do they want, and where do they want to go, what do they want to achieve as well? And that should be a big part of your decision as well. Absolutely. I would like to talk about the transformation a little bit more, because that's what really inspires, I think, because it's seeing the difference between someone that comes to college when they first arrive and then that transformation all the way through to the end when they leave a specialist college. You know, what kind of transformations do you often see? Because we've talked about the big ones, you know, where there's been some real standout moments for you, but there must be so many transformations that you see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that often what we see when students arrive is that students don't have a voice of their own.
Okay.
That they don't necessarily have the ability to regulate themselves in environments. So this means that maybe when they arrive, they're choosing to spend more time alone. They're at risk of social isolation, really. And they're not able to enjoy the good things in life that we all want. You know, having friends, people who like you and you like them. And then what we see when students leave is that these young people are calm, they're focused, they're not just able to tolerate sharing spaces with others, but they seek out opportunities to do that. To join. We sometimes see that students may be very fixated on certain experiences and want to spend a lot of time doing a limited range of things.
Right.
But
Okay. Yeah.
because of the opportunities that they've had to explore at their pace, and in an environment where they feel safe, their lives are just much more fuller. The things that they want to engage with, the opportunities that they are prepared to take, the risks they're prepared to take.
Yeah, of course.
Are broader.
Amazing. I love that. And it just highlights the importance of finding a space that really works and where they can thrive, and that transformation happens, and knowing that that is a possibility, and that is important, that is seeked, and you can do that as well, which is what's come across in talking to you.
Absolutely.
And finally, I think it'd be nice to talk about families' perspectives as well, because not only the young person, you're probably seeing a massive change in the confidence, the independence, but actually from a parent's point of view, it must be incredible to see what change happens from a young person from when they first arrive, and then when a young person may leave a specialist college. So what kind of things do you see from this perspective of a family, you know?
I mean, it can be such a difficult thing for a family. You know, we've got a student at the moment actually who wasn't able to access school for 3 years because of their health needs, and there wasn't a setting that could provide that. And then this year they are now coming to college.
Amazing.
And so the family, in a way, is able to know that their son is somewhere where he's enjoying himself, he's safe, he's developing skills. So I think what I see from families just generally is they're quite anxious and fearful at the beginning maybe, and then when their young person is in the right environment, it's a huge relief.
That must be one of the biggest things.
Really relief. And then what you experience is parents just being so proud of their son or daughter, because the progress that they're making. And that's I think what I see. And there is a sense often that parents have got their lives back, and that their child now has an adult life of their own.
Talk about that independence as well, isn't it? And that is important for both sides. And I think celebrating it is nice, you know, talking about them seeing what they're achieving. So they may go to specialist college and they're there in the day, and it's knowing, what are they doing? What are they achieving? And celebrating that, because for the families, that's what really puts their mind at rest and makes them happy and comfortable.
Yeah, we have those opportunities. We have, specialist colleges as well. I mean, it's important to say that students at specialist colleges do exams. They do get qualifications that are celebrated. So, yeah.
Definitely. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you, Catherine. I think we've definitely talked about the power of specialist colleges, and there is a lot of it, isn't there? There's definitely a lot of power of what you can achieve with that. And thanks for sharing all of your experience and knowledge about that. And hopefully it's helped some people at home, maybe who are at that point where they're thinking, what do we do next? What happens? That maybe, I think, will make it a lot clearer.
I hope so.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.